Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and much appreciated you guys checking the video out and spending some time with me today. And at the time of filming this video, it's the 1st of March, and we're going to be talking about fishing a big jig, a full-size jig in the month of March. This is like one of the best months that you're going to have all year long for jig fishing. And there's some specific things that I like to do with the jig as far as how to set it up and the areas that I want to fish in the month of March. So we're going to get into that today's video. Also, guys, a couple quick things to remind you. Just like to invite everybody to please hit that subscribe button here to Advanced Bass Fishing. Much appreciated if you could do that. And also, just like to let you guys know about the Get Ready for Spring sale on my Solar Bat Series RB2 and RB3 series sunglasses. You can get them at 30% off right now at Solar Bat. I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description of the video if you guys would like to order a pair through that link. But you guys will absolutely love them. The clarity, the optical clarity of these Solar Bat lenses, second to none. So check that out in the link in the description. Okay guys, the jig, man, I just love it. We're going to be talking about my Blaukat throwback jig. Also guys, I'll link my throwback jig link in the description of this video if you guys would like to pick up some. But let me talk about the jig a little bit first, and then we're going to get into the areas to fish it in. Now, the reason that I love this jig here that I helped design with Cumberland Pro Lures, it's a live rubber jig, which they're very hard to find. And the reason that most companies don't make a live rubber jig is they're very labor intensive. You got to hand tie them. So this is hand tied with twine to make them flare out. But the action that you get off of a live rubber jig cannot be duplicated by silicone. And also the flatness and the matte finish of the rubber, it has a glow in the water that silicone can't duplicate. And I have just found in all my years of fishing that the big fish just like a live rubber jig more. So specifically, I want to talk about the browns. Now, in the month of March, in my opinion, brown or brown and orange is your two best colors most of the time, as long as your water visibility is not muddy. But as long as you have water visibility over about 1.5 feet, I go to brown and orange, say in 1.5 to 2.5 foot, and anything over 2.5 foot clarity, I'm using a straight brown. And I usually pair it up. My favorite is this green pumpkin Zoom big salty chunk here. This is my setup. 3/8 ounce most of the time. If it's windy, I may go to a 1/2 ounce, but I really prefer a 3/8 this time of year for that little bit slower fall. Now, here's what you want to look for in the month of March with a jig, because a lot of people have sort of gotten away from jig fishing. You know, there's so many other different type of lures out there with the lure technology that jigs sort of get a back seat anymore. But guys, I'm telling you right now, in the month of March, a jig and a big spinner bait are going to be your two best baits to catch big fish on if you fish them in the right areas. So if you guys have been in the channel, you've been watching my channels the last month, you hear me talking a lot about bluff banks and channel banks. Bluff banks and channel banks are key structures during the pre-spawn, especially in the month of May, because this is where those big ones move up to. And what they do is they're in the wintertime, a lot of those big fish are suspended out in open water, they're roaming around, but a percentage of those fish will start to move in March to those steep banks, channel banks, steep banks, riprap banks, any type of a bank where you have some type of a sharp drop on a rocky bank. It doesn't have to be vertical, just anything like a 45-degree angle bank or greater. This is what those big pre-spawn female fish like to hang in on, because they're feeding on crawdads. And one of the reasons that a crawdad pattern crankbait or chatterbait or jig works so good during March is that bass prefer a crawdad over a shad if they can get it, because there's more protein in a crawdad and they need protein to help build their egg sacs. So they're really actively hunting crawdads this time of year. And I found that brown and orange, man, it's hard to beat this time of year. It's just really hard to beat. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for steep channel banks, bluff banks, rocky banks, that type of structure. And when you're finding these type of areas, the best way to find them is to look at your map and try to find an area where your creek channel swings in close to the bank, and you don't necessarily have to be fishing the bank right where the creek channel hits the bank. It can swing out a little bit, but you need to have a creek channel in the proximity, somewhere nearby, because those fish, they live and they use those creek channels as highways. So they're swimming up and down these creek channels, and they stop off at some of those key staging areas, which are normally the steep rocky banks, to sort of hang out and feed up for several weeks before they get ready to start spawning. So the best thing I like to do as far as how I approach it is I use a flipping stick. And most all the time I'm using my flipping stick, my Megabass Alkalis, fit anywhere between say 17 to 20 pound test Seaguar and Vizix line, even if the water's clear. And I'm pitching and making short casts with that jig straight to the bank and just work it down with short hops. Just hop it, 4 or 5 inches off the bottom like that. You don't pop it hard, you don't want to drag it, just sort of hop it off the bottom a little bit. And depending upon your water visibility is how deep you want to fish it. Now here's a good rule of thumb. If your water visibility is say under 2 foot, those fish are going to be shallower. They're going to be in less than 5 feet. So if the water visibility is stained, I'm going to pitch that jig to the bank and work it down into maybe 5 foot of water. If the water visibility is like between 2 to 4 foot, I may work it down into 10 or 15 feet of water. And if I got really clear water, like water visibility over 5 or 6 feet, I may work it down into 15, 20, 25 foot of water. Just depends on that. But guys, it's a really good way to catch them because a lot of times in March, based upon your weather conditions, the bass don't want to chase. Now, if you have a windy, cloudy day in March, you don't want to fish a jig. You want to fish like a spinnerbait or a chatterbait or a wigglewort, something that's moving. But if you have a day where there's not much wind and your light intensity is bright, like it's a sunny, partly cloudy day, water temperatures are in their 50s, guys, just put your jig on, man, and get to those steep banks. If you don't have steep, bluffy banks in the lake you fish, throw it on riprap. Works really good around riprap. So, guys, I've caught so many good ones on it, and it just depends on how your lake is set up as far as the structure you have. But just fish it, man. Get you set up. Just get on Tackle Warehouse on that link I put in the description. Get you, a handful of 3/8 and ½ ounce in the brown, and orange, and just give them a try over the next month. I think you'll really be happy with the results on it. So we'll check in later, guys. See you.